Okay, Baruch Hashem. We're in Perek Yud Aleph of the Heilige Tanya. This Perek is the Perek of the Rasha. We're going to talk about the wicked one. I don't mean wicked good, I mean wicked bad. Like really bad. In summary, we explained there's 5 types of Yidden. There's 5 categories of human beings. There's Tzaddik V'Toivloi, which we talked about. The Tzaddik that does everything good. He's from the Bnei Aliyah. He doesn't have a fight. He, in fact, has turned his Yetzer Hara into an ally. Then Rasha, then Tzaddik V'Raloi. The Tzaddik has totally subdued the Yetzer Hara, but he still is not Moyes V'Ra B'Tachlis, and therefore, even though the Yetzer Hara never speaks up, it has not yet turned into Toiv. And then we talked about a Beinoni. Beinoni has Toiv and Ra. There's this constant battle, which we're going to talk about in the next chapter. And then we have the Rasha V'Toivloi. Rasha V'Toivloi is a Rasha, but he still has a voice. It's calling him home. In other words, we're going to see different categories of this Rasha, but it's somebody who he wants to be good. He doesn't want to mess up his life. He wants to do something meaningful, but,
means well.
He means well, like they say. Even though meaning well is a very good thing in our world. We believe a lot in that.
Means well badly.
Meaning, he's trying, but he falls prey to the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara actually gets to his thought, speech, and actions. The Beinoni would never allow himself to indulge a bad thought, or to speak a word of Lashon Hara, or to do an action of rebellion against God by doing Avera.
He wants to.
But he wants to. Excellent. Good that you guys are getting that. The Rasha, though, wants to, obviously, but then actually will do it. He'll actually... I'm going to show you now the difference between the Beinoni and the Rasha V'Toivloi. The Beinoni wants to say the evil speech, wants to say the evil gossip. It's like on his tongue. He knows when he says this piece of gossip, everyone's going to go, yeah, that was amazing, juicy gossip. That was awesome. And he'll make him, yeah, I'm the gossip man. I feel so good. Even though he really feels horrible about himself. That's why he says gossip. To make himself high because he really feels low. And he wants to, but he holds it back. That's the Beinoni. The Rasha V'Toivloi, he wants to, and he says it. But it was like, there was a struggle, but he lost the struggle. Okay, let's look inside. The Hainu. Shahatoiv shebenafsha lakis, the goodness inside the nefesh lakis of the Rasha, shebemoichai, ubechalal hayemani, shebeliboy. The nefesh lakis, which is in the brain of a person, inside the right side of his heart, is kafuf, page 30, Yud Aleph, yeah. 3 lines down. Kafuf v'botel lagabe hara mehaklipa shebechalal hasmoili. However, the Yetzer Hara ends up being stronger, and therefore the Yetzer Hara that tells him say that piece of gossip, even though the Yetzer Tov is like, don't do it, man. It's like, you want to do it, don't do it. You want to. She said that. Yeah.
So, I'm still not certain what the difference is between the Tzaddik V'Raloi and the Beinoni.
Excellent. Tzaddik V'Raloi is the Tzaddik has not yet eliminated evil inside of him. Eliminating evil means he is not completely reject the notion of evil, which means that his love of God is not yet perfect. However, the evil is so minuscule, it's so batel, we explained, batel b'shishim, batel b'elef, batel b'revava, it's so nullified that it actually doesn't talk inside of him. The mashal I always give is like the evil king buried a mile down in the ground. He's down there, he's not doing anything, he's not affecting the kingdom above, but he's plotting his evil plans down there. He exists in the existence of the kingdom, albeit a mile down in a pit. The Russia, the Beinoni, the Yetzer Hara is in full battle and telling him you should do this, and telling the other king to have the inhabitants of the kingdom listen to his voice. The other king says no, and they're battling. And they're battling over you. You are the Ir Katana. This is you. You are the city. Your inhabitants are your limbs. So each side is telling your limbs, do this, say this, think this. And the other side is, no, do this, think this, say this. So the Beinoni always overcomes it. He never lets that voice turn into indulging bad thoughts, speaking evil speech, or doing bad actions. But the Beinoni wants to. The Tzaddik V'Ralo does not want to. Now let's go to the Rosh V'Tovlo. That's what we're doing. The wicked one who has the good, he works like a Beinoni. The Rosh V'Tovlo functions like a Beinoni. There's a fight here. Except what? In the moment of the battle, he was not able to withstand the impact. The ballistics hit him, and he was not able to fend off the attack. And therefore, he succumbed and spoke the evil speech, or ate treif, whatever. Fill in the blank. When it comes to the Rasha, it's divided also into tens of thousands of levels. How much that good is speaking inside of him.
What does chafuf mean?
It's pushed down. Chalukus be'inyan kamis ve'eches habitel. In how much of is the tov pushed away, and how strong it's pushed away. Habitul v'kfifas hatov l'ra. How much the tov has been pushed down and made to be like, in this territory we do evil things. And the voice of the tov is becoming more and more faint. So that's divided into many, 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 many countless levels. There's a person that he's always such a good guy. He's like the best guy. He just falls. He falls when the temptation gets too much. And then there's the guys that are, the good inside has been so covered over that he's not even putting up such a fight. Like, he just goes for whatever the Taivas tell him to do. Mm-hmm.
And you said with Tzaddik V'Ralo that his the Russian side of him is still there, or it doesn't even speak. It's like in the pit. So it's with the Russia, the Tzaddik is in the pit.
Yeah, with the Russia, the Tzaddik, but he's not deep in the pit. Depends. With the Russia, the Tzaddik is like, he's on like the manhole. He's like popping off the manhole. It's like, no. It's like, get back down there. It's like, oh, it kicks him in the tov is always trying to come out. I like how you flip that. I really like how you did that.
Russia is like an ultimatum when he does bad things, and there's no pull towards to get it off. The Tzaddik is out of that.
Yeah, that would be the low. Remember, he's saying, low is that Tzaddik gets pushed so far down. It's like his voice is no longer, not the Tzaddik, the part of good inside of him, the tov. It gets pushed so far down. It's like the kingdom is all of a sudden running. Like, wicked people. What could happen is like they started off good, but then they push that voice of reason so far away. The Gemara says, "Nasa lo kaheter," that the Averas became like, oh, it's already permitted to do this stuff. White collar crime, what's so bad? Everyone's doing it. Everyone cheats on X, Y, and Z. Or all these things, or it's a mitzvah to do this Avera. All sorts of things that implant themselves, that the voice of good just gets pushed further and further and further. And you see a person like, how did he get himself that far down? You saw growing up, I'm sure each person in their own way, there was kids that I remember in the playground. I'm going like back to the playground days. That they were like otherwise good kids, and then they got involved with like some like bad chevra. There's one specific group, I'm having like all sorts of old memories right now, of like, there were a couple kids, I remember when they got involved with lighters. You know, when a little kid gets a lighter, that was like a gateway, you said? That's like a gateway to a lot of other stuff. So it started as like, we have fire now. And, you know, a little kid to have a lighter, there's a reason why you don't give them to little kids. Like, it's a lighter. And then I remember there was a group of kids, they started to get, like, whenever they could get lighters, they would get them, and then they put them in piles, and they exploded all the lighters together. They piled up, and then they got, what is it called? Lighter fluid. That's like a bomb.
Deodorant.
Yeah, whatever, you know, all this stuff. And this otherwise nice guy, he's like nice kids, like got involved, and like everyone was doing it. So that kid was like, he was the one in the beginning, like, guys, we shouldn't be doing this. And then all of a sudden he was like, let's do this. What happened to you, man? You were one of the good ones. That's the idea of, that's happening inside of a person. There's the voice of like these lighter blower-uppers that are telling you to do, you know, whatever they're telling you to do. And then there's the guy like, I don't think we should be doing this, guys. And then that voice gets like pushed down and down and down and down and down. And then he can become like taken over. Or he doesn't even know who he is anymore.
Peer pressure.
Peer pressure. And that voice of reason gets pushed down, 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 down. There's a lot of signs of this, by the way. You have to be very careful. Seeing people, children that hurt animals, is a very bad sign. Be very careful. So that is things that can happen inside of a person, whereas it starts pushing down the voice of reason, and that happens in many, many different levels. Okay? But on the highest level, it's the guy that's like, he's such a good guy, but he just got pulled into something, or he said the evil speech. Okay? That's something very relatable. You have the best guy in yeshiva, but he knew it was a questionable restaurant or something, but he was out and he was like, you know, I probably shouldn't. I'm sure it's kosher. Like, I saw a guy in there with a kippah. I'm sure it's good, and it's, you know, it's just not really chumras, and then he starts making like a whole thing, like really the Mahadran ones are just really chumras, not made for din, and like this is really kosher, I'm sure. And he did something, let's say. He didn't eat something that was a kosher food. So, and he felt bad about it the next day. So he's good. He just slipped up a little bit. Okay? So he's going to speak this out loud. Let's just see it inside. Chas v'shon. It says, Hatoiv l'ra chas v'shon. Yesh mi she'akfifa ve'abittel eitzli ma'at mizer. It's only a little bit. Ve'af gam zois ein bit timidus. The good is only nullified a little bit. Like the good is very loud inside of it. And also, the good's voice is not muted except like very infrequently. V'loi tadir lefrokim kroivim. It's not, it's it's like a very far off thing that the bad pipes in and actually overcomes them. Misgaber hara ala toiv, v'koivish ha'sa'ir katana, hu aguf. That his small city, which is called the body, and all the limbs are called the inhabitants, that it gets overrun by the lighter burners, we'll call them. Those guys, the lighter blower-uppers. The LBU, Lebu, the lighter blower-uppers. So Lebu, when that gets too strong, okay, so he succumbed to it. Achloi kuloi, but also not that his whole being becomes succumbed to it, i.e., maybe it got him in his head, that he had a bad thought, maybe it just got him in his mouth, he's blurted something out, maybe just made his actions do something, but it wasn't premeditated. Meaning it catches him in little areas. Miktsasa lavadai. Shiasar lamashma asas. He went after the voice of the evil inclination. V'nasa loy merkova. Next page. V'lavush lislabesh boy. He made his body into a chariot to house the voice of the Yetzer Hara. Echad mishloisha levusheh. For one of his garments. Garments is always the ways of expression of either thought, speech, or action, like we mentioned so many times. The Haina, Oy b'machshav, Oy b'maisa, levad, he did something he shouldn't do. Lasais, Avera, Kalois, like doing a small Avera. Not something big. V'loy chamuras, that's for sure. I mean, this type of guy is not going to get pulled into doing, illicit, adultery or something. But he would get pulled into Averas Kalos, like, maybe, I'm sure it was kosher. Or Bittul Torah, or maybe a little, or B'dibur Levad, Ledaber Avak Lashon Hara, just a little bit, a shtickle Lashon Hara. What's so wrong with that? We're speaking in shul. Everybody does it. Until you read the Melich's Torah Wellsprings, and you realize it's not simple to talk in shul. It's like serious stuff. Maybe that's why he doesn't mention it, because it's not kalas, that's chamuras. But avak lashon hara, it's not even a lashon hara. I said a nice thing about somebody in front of somebody who might disagree with me. I.e., I said a nice thing about Reuven says a nice thing about Shimon. But Levi there, Reuven knows Levi. Levi's standing beside Reuven. And Reuven knows that Levi's got like this bad flavor from Shimon. So if Reuven says something about Shimon, a positive thing, he has such a nice voice, so it's going to make Levi have bad thoughts when he's like, he doesn't have a nice voice. I know him. So it can create the Lashon Hara. It's not a real Lashon Hara. There's like certain avak Lashon Haras. There's many examples of avak Lashon Hara. It doesn't even seem like I did anything.
Implicit?
Pardon?
Like implicit?
Yeah, avak means like it's like the dust of Lashon Hara. It's not a flat out like that guy is a horrible human being. That's just straight flat out evil speech. Not a straight out slander or reputation destroy. It's just, there's a better word for that. What do they call it? Like a legal word for to destroy someone's reputation. Libel. It's not libel. It's like, just like a little dusty of something like, or hinting to something. V'ki agavna, oy b'machshava levad. He just has like a little thought, which a little thoughts are not so little. Because hirhuri avera hakashim avera, having an evil thought can actually be worse than doing the act. Why is that? So the Maharal says famously, is because the action only makes the physical part of you impure, the vessels of action. But if it was not premeditated, then it does not contaminate the higher faculties of you. However, a premeditated evil contaminates the higher faculties of your intellect, which are supposed to be used for the most exalted service of Hashem. So that's one pshat in having bad thoughts can be worse than actually doing it. Even though don't ever do it. But you could hear that spiritually there's more contamination from the thoughts. Another answer why it can be worse is that the evil action, it's that and nothing else. The action was done, he ate the tray food, it's done. But the imagining of the action can know no limits. It could go into the imagination of diabolical evil, can just go and go and go and go. It's not limited. So he thinks about, let's say, even just, intimate relations, inyan zivat zochav in the cave of ha'olam, sha'oivel as haras ha'torah, like it says in the Shmartim, we call davara, shaloi yehar ha'bayayim, that a person has to be careful with his thoughts, that he shouldn't think certain things by day and then have accidents at night. Oy shehi shasa koisha lasik batoira. He should have been learning Torah. And he turns his heart to Batala. Somebody told me, they said, Rebbe, you know what the best day of the week is? Sunday. Why? It's Yom Rishon Shabbos, right? I said, no, there's 7 hours of commercial-free football! Yeah! I said, 7 hours? I said, you know what Shas and Poskim you could do with 7 hours? Maybe 7 minutes of football or something. Maybe even an hour. 7 hours? That is that's mysterious nefesh for football. That's an unbelievable thing. 7 hours. Nobody can tell me that's not Zman Batala. That's Batala Mamish. 7 hours. You know what I'm saying? I need 7 hours to just relax. To get back to the base edge. Yeah, I'm sure you need 7 hours to get back to the base edge. So that's what it says. Okay, he should have been learning Torah. In America, Sunday is the day that was given for working people to learn Torah. You don't go to work. It's given for two things: spend time with your kids and learn Torah. That's what the day is designed for in America. When I came to Israel, you realize the Sunday, what was Sunday over here? Oh, Sunday? No, Sunday's Monday here. You didn't get the message? Motzi Shabbos is Sunday night. Sunday is Monday. No, I need just my day, right? No, there's no day. Sunday is Monday.
Fridays.
So, but you can't because Friday is Shabbos. You're so busy on Friday. There's no exist. America, it's still such a thing as Sunday. So what do you do on Sunday? You learn Torah and spend time with your wife and kids. That's what Sunday is designed for. Where do you fit 7 hours of football into a Sunday? I'm sorry, I just don't understand. The answer is you take time away from learning and time to your wife and kids. And if you'll tell me, no, that is our bonding time with my wife and kids, the football. Come on, that's not real bonding. Go for a 7-hour hike. Watch the game for 1 hour, then go on a hike for 6 hours. Have a picnic. Do something nice. Have a scintillating conversation. Talk about things. Keditanan, ba'avas, haner balayla, person who just stays up, mafana liboy. Sheba'achas mikol eila, v'kayutz vehem nikr rosha, ve'esahid. Sharash benafsha goyver boy, mislavish begufa machtil, u'metamoy, ve'achar kat goyver boy atoiv shebenafshay. So what happens? He falls to the Yetzer Hara, but then he gets back up. We're just going to finish right to the end, because this is all one idea. Helikis. U'mischaret, and he feels bad. U'mevakish mechila v'slicha me'Hashem, Hashem yislach loi. Im shavet shuva ru'uya al pi atzis chachamenu zal b'shloish chaluki kapara shahir b'shmol derish, like it says in the Gemara in Yuma Pei Vav Amid Aleph. Basically, that type of a rasha, he falls sometimes. Just do the tshuva, get back up, you're good to go. But v'yesh mi shara goyver b'yoser. There's a certain person who the evil is now stronger in that person. He's always thinking, speaking, and doing the actions of Rasha Ra. And he makes him even do worse things, and it's more often. But in the meantime, you know what happens? He wakes up from his drunken, Las Vegas trip, and he's like, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? And they're like, room service? Okay, back to business as usual. But he had that thought. He had the thought. Mishar de Baimlai Huri Tshuva, because the tzaddik is like calling him from the pit. Remember you're a yid. Remember there's an olam haba. Remember there's an eternal life. Shebenafshay misgaber k'tzas b'natayim. El she'ein lo yisgaber kol kach natzech es hara lifresh mechatov legamrei. He can't leave Vegas. I only mean the strip part. There's many nice Yidden and firm communities there. That's what Chazal say. The wicked, they always have these thoughts of, maybe I should do something better. They get that little voice of wake up. Take hold of your life. These are most evil people, as they get that voice. They get, even though they're totally sunk in it, but they get that little voice come home, Yidla, Chaim Yankel. Come home. Yosel. Come home. But then there's one final category. This basically is almost non-existent except in the really evil people. Mamish. There's people that never feel remorse. Ever. And you say, do they have a soul? The answer is they do, but the soul is basically hovering above them. It's basically leaving them. It's nothing physical. The soul's not physical. But the concept of their soul is now what's called a makif. It's beyond them. The ain't baim lo hirhuri tshuva klal nikar rush of a ralo. That's the rush of a ralo. Until now, it's all rush of a tovlo in different degrees. Shaharash ben afshayu levadai nishar b'kirboy. Now it's like the tzaddik is not on the ground anymore. The tzaddik was sent to the moon. He's there, but he has no influence on you anymore.
So unlike the tzaddik, the tovlo, where the Yetzirah becomes good. Right?
It's the tzaddik tovlo, yes.
Right, it actually becomes good.
That's right. This will
is
never
not the
become
case
good.
here.
That's right. That shows that you never turn pure good into evil. You could turn the evil into pure good. You can never turn pure good into evil. It will just start to get further and further away because God is good. That piece of him is the God part, and God is good. Ki gaver kol tach avatoyv ad shenistalik mikir by ve'ayim b'chinas makiv halam l'mala v'lechein amar chazal. That's what the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, Testament Aleph. Kol be'as sar shchin d'shari means even Rishayim because the shchin is there as a makif. B'ezrat Hashem, that's the whole section of the Russian. I usually like to do the Russian one day because just that's it. We should be zerchem mamish to be chach beinanim. Amen.